The plot has officially blown wide open, and for Letitia James, it's not just bad news, it's disastrous. New York's top law enforcer, the self-proclaimed defender of justice, is now neck-deep in a scandal straight out of a crime drama. Her own grandniece, a wanted fugitive with a long rap sheet, has been living under Auntie Tish's roof. The same roof, by the way, now at the center of a federal indictment. So what's James gonna say? That she was too busy chasing Trump to notice a fugitive in her own house? Too obsessed with political theater to recognize the real crime scene was on her front porch? This is the woman who went to war over bookkeeping entries, but turned a blind eye to a mother accused of enabling minors, possibly her own children, to commit crimes. Letitia James, the nation's loudest voice on accountability, caught harboring a fugitive while facing her own bank fraud charges. And just wait, believe it or not, there's more. Tim Walz just got caught allowing illegal immigrants to check a box at the polls for their preferred political candidates, all while at the same time, liberal Supreme Court justices are being called out for saying racist comments made on record this morning in front of the entire court. The left is panicking over the 2026 midterms, and I've got it all for you here today. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now, before we dive into Letitia's shocking criminal family saga, let's listen to Eric Trump, who reacted to the explosive news that James is harboring a fugitive.
She spent her entire career attacking us. She ran on the promise of getting Trump, of taking us down, of going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing us and going home. And those are her exact words. And, you know, Sean, the great irony of life is, you know, she dug so deep, she ended up finding herself. I mean, somebody who's apparently committed mortgage fraud, and somebody apparently has a felon living in their home right now. Clearly, you're not allowed to do that. But it's really no different than Hillary. Same thing. I mean, they dug so deep with, you know, the whole Russia hoax that Hillary found herself. Same thing with Jack Smith. He dug so deep that, you know, we found out that he was actually planting classified folders in Mar-a-Lago. Same thing with Joe Biden, right? I mean, remember the raid of Mar-a-Lago was apparently on behalf of NARA, right? National Archives. And guess who actually orchestrated that raid? You know, Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Or what is it with Democrats? The great irony is they always dig so deep that they actually find themselves. And that's exactly what Letitia James did.
Oh, she certainly found herself all right. Letitia James now accused of housing a cop-hating fugitive, a convicted felon with a rap sheet a mile long, right in her Virginia home. The same home she listed as her primary residence while actually living in New York. Meet 36-year-old Nakia Thompson, Tisha's grandniece, living under her aunt's roof in Virginia with her 3 children in tow. And Thompson is not exactly the kind of neighbor that anybody wants living next door. I mean, she's been arrested twice just while living there for assaulting police officers. And it gets worse. She's also wanted in North Carolina for skipping out on her parole after a 2011 arrest. Fleeing the state made her a full-blown fugitive. Court documents show she was charged with malicious conduct by a prisoner, a felony by the way, plus assault of a government official and resisting a public officer. So 2 felonies, to be exact. I mean, honestly, she's the poster child for the left's soft on crime approach. And it doesn't stop there. Since fleeing in Virginia in 2020, Thompson has racked up new charges: possession of burglary tools, grand larceny, and even contributing to the delinquency of a minor. 3 times, by the way. Now, she's had some misdemeanors dropped, sure, but she's also piled up 9 separate vehicle offenses, including as recently as this summer, and 4 of which she racked up in just one day. Remember, she's responsible for 3 children. Now, this is the same property that is currently at the center of a federal indictment accusing James of lying on her mortgage to get a better rate. Prosecutors say she claimed the home wasn't being rented while her fugitive grandniece was living there rent-free. So maybe it's time to tack on harboring a fugitive to her growing list of potential charges. And that's not the only criminal chaos brewing on the left. Minnesota's own director of elections just admitted on the record that illegal immigrants are participating in our elections. You have to see the reaction from the Oversight Committee. I mean, it is pure shock. The representative questioning him, she looks like she knew what was happening, but could not believe a Democrat actually just said it out loud. And just to set it up for you, the reason this was even possible in the first place is because Governor Tim Walz signed a bill back in 2023 that basically turned driver's license into a free-for-all, open season for anyone, legal or not. And once an illegal immigrant has that license, the door to the ballot box just swings wide open. Here's Minnesota's director of elections making the bombshell admission just yesterday.
We give driver's licenses to anyone here. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to, which is a photo ID. So if someone comes in, they register, they have the driver's license, but they have an incorrect social or no social or whatever. So then they become incomplete. But if they walk in to vote with their driver's license, does that make them all of a sudden now okay?
Mr. Linnell.
Madam Chair, so the designation on the roster for someone whose registration had been incomplete, if they present the election judge with that acceptable identification document, that would clear the challenge from the roster and they would be permitted to cast a ballot.
Do you feel vindicated? I mean, just like that, Trump was right about everything. Again, you knew it, I knew it, but for years we were told it was all a conspiracy, that there was no proof to back up that claim. Well, not anymore. And something tells me the luck is only getting started, because 2026 is shaping up to be a political reckoning. Watch this.
This is what the party pickups would be for congressional districts. Republicans, 5. Missouri, 1. North Carolina, 1. Ohio, 2 or 3. Indiana, 1 or 2. Florida, still discussion down there, but that could be another gold mine for them if they tipped it even further their way. Kansas, 1. New Hampshire, 1. And Nebraska. Democrats, Utah, California, Maryland. Look at this. If you offset California and Texas, Missouri and Utah, North Carolina and Maryland, everything left over is an advantage to the Republicans. And don't forget, the Supreme Court is considering what could really be the end of the Voting Rights Act, which would protect minority groups. So you don't have a state that's half black, for example, that elects only one congressional member and everybody else goes to the Republicans that would represent that population in some ways. So if that is gutted, Democrats could lose 19 seats.
Think about it. Every election cycle, Republicans are forced to climb uphill. They're fighting Democrat gerrymandering, the race-based districting under the Voting Rights Act, and now illegal voters being slipped into the rolls. But imagine what happens when all three of those things get wiped out. Democrats get decimated. And Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, she knows her party's in big trouble. So this morning, in a shocking display of twisted logic, she actually suggested that Black Americans should be treated the same as disabled people when drawing congressional districts. And Democrats wonder why they're hemorrhaging minority support. Take a listen.
The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled. In fact, we use the word disable in Milligan. We say that's a way in which you see that these processes are not equally open.
That's the left's dirty little secret. They don't see Black Americans as equals. They see them as perpetual victims, always in need of saving, always dependent on government to level the playing field. It's not about compassion. It's about control. Because as long as the left keeps Black Americans feeling powerless, they stay loyal. Perpetual victims make Democrats the heroes and keep them in power. Now listen, as Justice Sotomayor's argument for race-based congressional districts gets absolutely shredded in front of the entire court this morning. Take a look.
Reason to think that a racial group is being treated
here too. You have proof of that here.
No, you don't. What you have here is that Republicans and Democrats are different. There's no
you have some that even white Republicans or white Democrats won't vote for Black candidates.
Right, but if these were white Democrats, there's no reason to think they would have a second district. None. And so what is happening here is their argument is because these Democrats happen to be Black, they get a second district. If they were all white, we all agree they wouldn't get a second district. That is literally the definition of race subordinating traditional principles.
Let that sink in. If the same argument applied to any other race is called racist, it's equally racist when applied to Blacks. Black Americans don't need to be pitied or artificially advantaged. They need opportunity. So redrawing political lines by race, that's not progress, it's segregation with a new label. And come this November, and especially in 2026, the contrast will be undeniable. Because at the end of the day, these two parties are not the same. President Trump, he signs a historic treaty for peace in the Middle East, while the man who was almost a heartbeat away from the White House, Tim Walz, signs one of the most extreme abortion bills in America, legalizing late-term abortions up to the moment of birth. This is life versus death, good versus evil. And you know the Democrats see the writing on the wall when Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett melts down on TV, spinning unhinged conspiracy theories about President Trump supposedly having a stroke and being mentally unfit for office. I mean, the timing couldn't be more laughable. This wild rant came right after Trump brokered peace in the Middle East, in just 24 hours, I might add. So just for you, I lined up his schedule for that day, side by side with her clip, so you can see exactly how ridiculous this whole thing is. Watch.
He's falling asleep. He forgets that he appointed Jerome Powell. We would have added January 6th if we had dropped, he forgot he was president on January 6th. The rest of the world did not. So there is something happening, and this is based on what actual medical professionals have told me, mentally as well as physically. And then after they put out their report of his most recent physical, it has only led those on the medicinal side to think for sure that he had a stroke.
Sounds like it's time for another Democrat hoax alert. And you know who else jumped on board? J.B. Pritzker.
I do think he's got mental health issues, and I'm not making fun of that either. I want to be clear. People need to help him, like his family. The people around him, like Stephen Miller, they love
somebody
taking...
to hug him? You want someone to hug him?
No, I think he genuinely... I mean, of course, that's funny, but I do think he needs help. And I don't think anybody around him on a day-to-day basis wants to get him any help because they have more power based upon his diminished capacity.
Nobody is getting the president with diminished capacity help because they want to hold on to power? Does he even hear himself? That is exactly what we lived through for 4 years under Joe Biden, the biggest political cover-up in modern history. They propped up a man clearly unfit for office just to cling to control. And the irony? Off the charts. This is coming from the same party whose own president looked straight into the camera and said, "Watch me." And oh, we watched him all right. We watched him nap on the beach. We watched him trip up the steps to Air Force One, not once, not twice, but 3 times. We watched him topple over at a U.S. Air Force Academy graduation. We even watched him shake hands with thin air. You get the picture. This isn't a presidency, it's a blooper reel. This is what happens when the facts aren't on your side. The left starts selling fantasy instead of truth. Oh, and wait until you see what comes next. No one embodies that delusion better than Kamala Harris. She is so wrapped up in her own illusion that she actually stood in front of a crowd and declared herself the most qualified candidate ever to run for president. You cannot make this up. Watch this.
Some people have actually said I was the most qualified candidate ever to run for president.
I like the some people say. Very nice, but go ahead.
I'm just speaking fact.
This is Hillary watching that clip. And this may be one thing we actually find some common ground on, because nobody said that. And if they did, it's probably the same people who need warning labels on shampoo bottles. But when the fantasy starts to crumble, the left always turns to theatrics. And this next act, it is straight out of a bad political drama. House Democrats, armed with their protest signs and zero self-awareness, decided to storm Speaker Mike Johnson's office, demanding he swear in Democrat Representative-elect Adelina Grijalva. Watch this circus and pay attention to the California's own Nanette Berrigan literally screaming at a Capitol Police officer for just trying to do his job. And their big viral moment? Completely wasted. Speaker Johnson wasn't even in his office. He was at Charlie Kirk's Medal of Freedom ceremony. So while Democrats were busy throwing tantrums in empty hallways, conservatives were out celebrating freedom. Poetic irony? Absolutely, with maybe a little divine assist from Charlie Kirk himself. Now, once again, Democrats, they brought the chaos and karma brought the lock. Door closed, lesson delivered. And if anyone knows what that feels like, it's Adam Schiff. Especially after Pam Bondi torched him on Capitol Hill just last week. You know, the self-appointed hero of accountability? Well, guess what? He is suddenly playing the victim, practically begging for mercy.
I would hope also in the future that if a witness, rather than respond, simply attacks our members, that it be stopped. That the witness be instructed to either answer the question or to state why they're refusing to answer the question, but to refrain from personal attacks on the members of this committee. That would be my request.
That's what defeat sounds like. Another W for the Attorney General's column. I mean, even Democrat Senator Chris Murphy is admitting what the rest of us already know. The left is losing on every front.
The polling would not tell you that our party is in good shape today. I mean, we are historically unpopular.
At least he's gotten through step one, admitting there's a problem, but let's be real, that's probably where the progress will end for most. J.B. Pritzker? Well, he's still gaslighting. Instead of fixing Illinois' crime wave, he's threatening the very agents who arrest the violent criminals in Chicago.
The tables will turn someday. These people should recognize that maybe they're not going to get prosecuted today, although we're looking at doing that, but they may get prosecuted after the Trump administration for the things that they did because the statute of limitations won't have run.
Well, DHS fired back with, quote, "Can you believe this guy? Governor Pritzker threatening to prosecute law enforcement for enforcing the law and arresting murderers, pedophiles, rapists, drug traffickers, and gang members is disgusting. It's no wonder Chicago's murder rate is 330% higher than the national average under J.B. Pritzker. His conduct is directly contributing to domestic terrorists attacking our brave law enforcement. He is going to get someone killed with this trash." Now, let's be crystal clear. Harboring illegal immigrants is a federal crime. If you hide, house, or help someone stay here illegally, you face serious prison time. 5 years per person, 10 for profit, and up to 20 to life if someone is seriously harmed. Harboring isn't just a basement. It's a roof, it's a paycheck, a ride. It's enabling lawlessness. And I can think of a few names who fit that description just off the top of my head. Now, overnight in Chicago, Biden-appointed U.S. District Judge LaShonda Hunt has ordered the fencing that is protecting ICE agents at the Broadview facility in Chicago to be removed by midnight tonight. This is the fencing that was put up after the facility was under attack for weeks on end by rioters who were blocking vehicles, throwing things at ICE. They were getting into altercations with the officers. And the Border Patrol chief says that's not going to stop them.
We're going to roll on and on. We are going to turn and burn, Governor. We're going from this one to the next, to the next, to the next, until they quit or are all deported and go home. And as far as him, he can either get on board or watch from the sidelines.
That's the sound of enforcement finally drawing a line in the sand. No more playing defense while mobs run wild, because under President Trump, order will be restored, accountability will follow, and the people who chose chaos over safety will be judged not only at the ballot box, but also in the courthouse. Well, up next, Zohran Mamdani's campaign gets rocked with what I'm calling career-ending corruption. For all those details and much more, check out the video that's now on your screen. Appreciate you all watching today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.